What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners video for today's 8-game MLB main slate, courtesy of Awesemo.com. With such luminaries as Robinson Cano and Rougned Odor having double dong days, you know it's prime hitting season, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to win a free month of Awesemo Plus. All you have to do right now is like this video and comment your double dong pick, the guy you think is going to hit 2 or more home runs today, down below. If you're correct, you'll be entered to win that free month of Awesemo Plus, so right now, make sure to like the video and comment your double dong pick down below. But it's hump day, so let's get the energy up with our top pitchers on today's slate. Noah Syndergaard going against San Diego is going to be the top option industry-wide. Syndergaard gets 3.8 implied runs against him, which are tied for a slate low, and he's expected to be the #1 owned pitcher on DraftKings with 41%, on FanDuel with 30%, and on Yahoo with 52%. Syndergaard has remained slightly worse than advertised in 2019 with a 4.04 whip and a 23.7% K rate. So while he projects well, there is some risk given that there are 5 batters over a 112 WRC plus in San Diego's projected lineup. San Diego has big power, but they also have big strikeouts, which can lead any pitcher to have a big day, as we saw yesterday with Jason Vargas. Still a decent spot for Syndergaard on paper, but I do think having some leverage for San Diego makes sense, because Syndergaard hasn't really been there production-wise on the year. Patrick Corbin versus Colorado should also be popular today with 3.8 implied runs against him, which is tied for that slate low. Corbin will be the #2 owned pitcher on DraftKings with 32%, on FanDuel with 23%, and on Yahoo with 47%. Corbin's strikeout ability has been there more than Syndergaard with a 28.4% K rate, as well as a lower 3.6 whip. Though Story and Arenado's ISOs over 300 versus left-hand pitching could offer some concern going the other way. I'm probably going to have close to even amounts of both Syndergaard and Corbin because I do think they're priced well enough to have upside, but I'm a little more into Corbin's strikeout ability here, even though there are some more dangerous hitters going against him. And Zach Gallen at the White Sox should also find some ownership today with 4.8 implied runs against him. Gallen projects to be the #3 owned on Yahoo with 27%, as well as on FanDuel with 13%, while he'll be #4 owned on DraftKings with 23%. Gallen has been strong versus left-handed batters with a 1.1 whip and a 31% K rate, while being unlucky versus right-handed batters with a 1.8 whip despite a 3.6 xFIP, so it's a solid spot for Gallen besides the park factors that are going to favor the hitters for the White Sox. I don't mind Gallen if the White Sox lineup is as lefty-heavy as their projected lineup currently looks, but I still think it's a spot here with that ownership that high. It may make sense to look some other places. On to our next corner of the top stacks on the slate, and a Dodgers stack going against Jamie Barry as one of those teams. The Dodgers get 5.9 implied runs, which are a slate high, and they project for top stack ownership with Barry allowing a 1.6 whip and 4.7 xFIP so far in 2019. Barry is a reverse splits pitcher with a 1.2 whip and a 3.7 xFIP to left-handed batters compared to a 1.5 whip and 5.5 xFIP allowed to right-handed batters, so the spot may be tougher than it seems, despite the Dodgers' 221 ISO and 119 WRC plus versus right-handed pitching. With the high team total and the ownership expected for the Dodgers, it does make sense to have some exposure, but I think it could be a bit of a tricky spot here with Barria's splits being so noteworthy against left-handed batters. A Cleveland stack versus Marcus Stroman should also find some ownership today with 4.5 implied runs for them. Cleveland also projects for top ownership due to their value prices despite Stroman's low 1.3 whip and 2.1% home run rate. Stroman is just a 19% K rate on the year, so Cleveland will get a shot to hit the ball, but they seem unlikely to put up much power with Stroman keeping the ball down well thanks to a 26.4% fly ball rate. Toronto's park should help out the hitters, but Stroman's been so good at limiting power and production on the year that I'm inclined to get away from Cleveland with their ownership very high. And a Mets stack versus Dinelson Lamet looks popular today with 4.7 implied runs for them. There's decent ownership expected for Jeff McNeil, Michael Conforto, and Robinson Cano at cheap prices, with Lamet mediocre so far in 2019. Lamet has struggled versus left-handed batters with a 1.7 whip and 19% K rate, but his 29.7% K rate overall could make him interesting leverage if the ownership for the Mets stays high. Robinson Cano broke out of his season-long funk yesterday, so I get why people may be willing to go there given Lamet's struggles versus left-handed batters, but I think I'm inclined to go to Lamet, and I'll talk more about him in a second. On to our next corner of the lower-owned options on today's slate, and a Washington stack going against Kyle Freeland is one of those teams that I like. Washington gets 5.7 implied runs, and Freeland has shown little in 2019 with a 1.7 whip, 5.2 xFIP, and 18.5% K rate in what is going to be a positive hitting park. Washington has a 273 batting average and a 348 on-base percentage versus left-hand pitching, while Adam Eaton's 81 WRC plus is the only one underneath Brian Dozier's 106 WRC plus in the Washington projected lineup. Freeland's been bad and Washington's been good on the year, so I like the spot here in a positive hitting park, with ownership going to some other stacks I'm not quite as into. And the aforementioned Dinelson Lamet/Lamay, depending upon how fancy your pronunciation is, at the Mets is also an option that I like. Lamet gets 4.7 implied runs against him, and he has issues, but with ownership expected for the Mets and a solid projection for Lamet over 2x value, he seems worth having some exposure to. Lamet's 13% swing strike rate with just 31.6% hard contact offers hope that he can have better days than he's seen so far this year. Again, this is likely an ownership thing for me where the Mets ownership currently looks a bit high. If it stays that high, I'm willing to go to Lamet, but if it goes the other way, it might be more logical to go to the Mets side of the equation. And a Pittsburgh stack versus Adam Wainwright also interesting interest me with 4.8 implied runs for them. Wainwright's poor splits versus left-handed batters with a 1.7 whip and a 5.2 xFIP offers opportunity to what should be a lefty-heavy Pittsburgh lineup. Pittsburgh is disappointed recently as a stack, but without much ownership and 6 hitters over a 114 WRC plus leading off their projected lineup, they can create production versus Wainwright's 7.5% swing strike rate with 42% hard contact allowed. People tend not to go to Pittsburgh, and on a day where the stack ownership seems a bit specious, I think it's a decent spot to go to Pittsburgh, who's a quality hitting team without as much power as some of the other stacks out there. And Pittsburgh's pitcher Jordan Lyles versus St. Louis also interests me. Lyles gets 4.7 implied runs against him, and he's cheap despite a 25% K rate in 2019, with St. Louis's projected lineup also posting a 25% K rate versus right-handed pitchers. Besides his strikeout ability, Lyles is a middling pitcher, and St. Louis has a few worrisome hitters like Jose Martinez, Paul Goldschmidt, and Tyler O'Neill, but at low ownership and at a value price, Lyles is worth at least some exposure. It's a battle of mediocrity here with Lyles and St. Louis, but I do think Lyles has enough strikeout upside to be worth a very low price industry-wide. And now on to our last corner of the one-offs, and Nelson Cruz going against J.A. Happ is one who jumped out to me. Happ allows a 4.6 xFIP and 4.5% home run rate to right-handed batters, while the strikeout rate is down to 20% in 2019, while Cruz has an astronomical 330 ISO and a 154 WRC plus versus left-hand pitching. Maybe neither team shows up today after their extra inning extravaganza yesterday, but I do think Cruz is in a really nice spot here versus a guy in Happ who hasn't shown much so far this year. Anthony Rendon versus Kyle Freeland is also a pricier one-off that I like. Rendon isn't cheap, but his 294 ISO and 150 WRC plus are appealing versus Freeland's 4.6 whip and 18% K rate versus right-handed batters. I like that Washington stack, and Rendon was an underperforming part of it yesterday. I think it's a nice spot to go back to him, with Freeland having some really appreciable lefty splits going against right-handed batters. And Brian Reynolds versus Adam Wainwright is a one-off I like again today. Reynolds' price is way down, but he does a strong job getting on base with a 338 batting average and a 145 WRC plus, as well as 50% hard contact generated versus right-handed pitchers. That seems due to results in more power production that he's seen so far this year. Reynolds hasn't shown a ton of power this season, but the hard contact he puts out could be a nice spot here going against Wainwright, a pitcher who really struggles versus left-handed batters. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on today's slate. So right now, like the video, and if you want to win that free month of Awesemo Plus, comment your double dong pick down below. Yesterday we had a bunch of low-owned guys who hit double dongs. Nobody commented them, so get weird, follow your heart, follow your gut, follow your dong, follow whatever part of your body you need to get it right. But whatever you do, make sure to like the video and comment your double dong pick if you want to win that free month of Awesemo Plus. But if you don't want to step up to the carnival game that is our double dong contest, you can also buy your way to the pay window with this promo code Switch and Hedge to get half off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Get all the ownership projections, the player projections, you can just plug right into the Fantasy Cruncher, the deep dive column, the lineup builder, the top stacks tool, a million different things and data points we reference all the time that'll help you make better lineups. So use that promo code Switch and Edge right now for half off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm there for you guys with my personal podcast, also retweeting whenever the Four Corners or any other content I have that can help you make better DFS stuff comes out. So go ahead and follow me right now on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I'll be back later today on Live Before Locks, so subscribe, hit that notification bell to know when we go live. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with another Four Corners video, so thank you guys for watching. See you again soon, and good luck.